And welcome back, ladies, gentlemen, crypto degenerates, to Cryptomancy. In collaboration with CoinHQ, I should probably include this at the beginning of each episode, but I, for some reason, have forgotten to do so. But now we're remembering. We're collaborating with CoinHQ. That's the whole reason we're here, ladies and gents. CoinHQ, if you don't know, I don't remember what their website is, but you can find them on Twitter. Just search for CoinHQ. It's this nice collaboration between us and a whole bunch of other crypto people who you know and love, if you follow Twitter at all, or YouTube's as well. And yeah, we're just creating content, doing a little bit of a media network. So go check their website out, and go check out some of the other shows. So this is the Ethereum episode.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's actually quite a lot to go through with regards to this. And I think this is actually quite well timed as well, because there's been a massive Ethereum pump lately. What is the price now? Something like, let me check. It's $260. I mean, that is crazy, because it was at the very low, like I think not the very low, but back in just a month ago in January, we were something like 150, 140. I mean, it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
And I remember most people were from last year, because we all know crypto is run by narratives, or at least that's my general investment thesis.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was hating on Vitalik, everyone was hating on Ethereum, and it's going to zero, and I'm starting up this mega short on it, and blah, blah, blah. And I was one of the few people, and I told you, Negus, this through our DMs. I was looking through all of the information, all of the release dates, all of the development, and I was like, wait, this actually might be one of the most undervalued assets in crypto right now. And so I just started, I told everyone about it. I was like, I'm going to get a huge position in this. I even made a tweet about it that got pretty viral. And so now I feel super vindicated. I mean, I'm way above my buy-in price, and I'm not even at the point where I would sell, because I'm more of a fundamental seller. I don't really sell on a dollar amount. I sell when I think the fundamentals have caught up to it, or the market has caught up to it. So yeah, I'm really happy about that. But this episode is really going into all of the different aspects of Ethereum and the different developments that have been taking place, why I personally think it's such a good buy, such a good fundamental hold, and then your thoughts as well on that, Negus. So yeah.
So yeah, I think a lot of people are not really interested in ETH 2.0 at this point, and haven't been, for quite a while, and haven't really looked at the fundamentals of Ethereum, because it's just a token that you use to invest in things. Because let's face it, a lot of the projects in 2017-18 were dog poo.
Right.
But as a Twitter post I'm about to make outlines, which I'll just click on now, says basically, what the only way you could find out if it was dog poo or not is to read the white paper, mainly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And white papers historically do one of two things, depending on the quality or the nature of the project. If it's kosher, tells you if it's how it works. Is it viable? Is it worth it? Is it a good project? Or if it doesn't tell you how it works, it baffles you with bullshit if it's a non-viable project. In other words, if it's just a pump and dump, a scam, a way of getting people's money. But the problem is, the reason most people are turned off by the technology and they only see the dollar signs, is to actually discern the one or the other. You need the knowledge and the skills to tell the difference before you make a decision. Most people don't have that. I mean, I do, to a point. I wouldn't say I'm the be-all and end-all, but I do, which is why I do it for a living. But if you don't have the knowledge or the skills, or you rely on somebody else who doesn't have, so many YouTubers would broadcast and go, this, it does this, skip through all the technical details, right? Token issuance, tokenomics, etc. Boom, buy the coin, yeah? And they rely on people like that. If you don't have the skills yourself, and you rely on resources that don't have the skills, you might as well burn your money 9 times out of 10, yeah? If you've put it in, you might as well. You might as well flush it down the loo. So a lot of people were put off by the technical aspect. They just wanted to see the gain. ETH 2 is even more technical than ETH 1, if you dig into it. So people haven't really dug into it. People just want to see, it's the show me the money aspect, which there hasn't been a lot of focus on it. And the recent narrative that was bashing ETH, I think is a reflection of that. It's a kind of it's very Luddite, considering the fact that we're technology investors. But it's coming now. It's definitely coming now,
Yeah,
and you will see a lot of change. Phase 0 will be this year. Phase 1 as well, I think, definitely. As to what the phases are, that's what we're here to break down for you.
And
one
before
thing
we
people
get started real quick on that, I also wanted to make a little bit of a side comparison because people didn't notice this. Again, narratives, right? So the Ethereum narrative for so long, when it was 1400 US, all the way back during the bull run, was it's useful for ICOs. Okay. Then when the ICO narrative was gone, it went all the way down to
because they didn't see any other use for it.
Right. It was over 95% down. Right. Now the difference, I look at a coin like BNB. So BNB got most of its pump when it went to $50 off of the fact that it was now the new place to do ICOs. And then that narrative got destroyed. Like no one really cares about BNB for IEOs now anymore. And yet the BNB price is actually only down something like 45% from its all-time high of $50. So that really it really tells you like, okay, so the same narrative on the two different coins somehow is responsible for a lot less on BNB as opposed to Ethereum. So what does that tell you? So either that tells you that BNB is overvalued. I don't think so. Or that Ethereum is massively, massively, massively undervalued, which is my personal opinion.
Because people don't understand or care for the potentials, which are, you have to know how the mechanisms and the technology and the code works. It's one of the reasons I'm learning Solidity as well. And everything else. If you don't, you won't understand the value. You really won't. Not in terms of detail.
Yep.
Which is a shame, really, because the potential is way bigger than BNB.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way bigger.
Absolutely. So the news, then since we recorded the last week's episode, there is some news that just came out. I thought Phase 0 was happening like any day now, and they delayed it. Again, typical Ethereum devs. They delayed it until I think it was July 1st was the date.
I think it'll be before July. I think they'll do Phase 1 in July.
Okay.
I think the articles we read have got it slightly out. They're very close, but it's slightly out.
Yeah. So it's a delay, yes, but it's not really such a huge delay anymore. That like Ethereum delays used to be way longer. I remember the days when Ethereum delays used to be like, next year, in 2 years, in 2020. Now it's like, okay, we're doing it in July. Okay. And in terms of actual development, the Ethereum guys have said that it's 99% complete for Phase 0, so it's done. And then 90% complete with Phase 1. So Phase 0 is the beacon chain, and then Phase 1 is all the fun smart contracty stuff that they're going to drop. So we're getting quite close, I think. And funnily enough, it kind of lines up a little bit more nicely with the Bitcoin halving. So the Bitcoin halving is sometime in May. If they drop Phase 0 sometime in, say, June or July, then that's right around that time. So you'll get a nice little double event going. So I think it's fine. I think I was holding my Ethereum and I was a little bit saddened by the fact that they delayed it. But then I was like, yeah, you know what? I actually, like, as an investor, I actually don't mind sitting on my Ethereum for a little bit longer. So I think it's perfectly fine. I personally don't plan on just selling as soon as Phase 0 comes out. But it was one of those milestones I was looking for.
Yeah.
Now it's just delayed, which is fine. I'm much more of a long-term holder myself anyway, so it's not a big deal for me.
Yeah, formal verification of this deposit smart contract has been completed.
Huge. That's huge.
Which is a big deal.
Yeah.
It means you can actually take deposits now.
I mean, I had no idea that they were doing formal verification until I read that article. Yeah. That's crazy.
I don't know who did it. They might have done it in an in-house audit, probably considering how much resource they've got.
Yeah.
They might have used an external, like Certic in addition to that. I don't know.
Really impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, anyone who ever thought that there's like Ethereum killers that are going to have features that Ethereum doesn't have, like, okay, well, now you better add formal verification onto that list because it looks like they're going for that too.
The only thing 0 is really waiting on now is the testnet criteria, which is basically that you have to have a certain number of validators running smoothly for a certain period of time. as far as I know, the criteria for completion for phase 0 is 3 different test networks. We've got Lighthouse, which is running with 300,000 validators smoothly. We've got Prism, which is running on about... No, Lighthouse is running on 100K, I think. They're going to ramp it up to 300. Prism is running on 35 very smoothly. And then they're probably going to, when Prism gets over 100K validators, then they'll put another one out. Now, each one of those test networks has to run with a 6-figure number of validators for 3 months. Yeah, fault free, all 3. When they tick all those boxes, 0 will launch. Well, so they're saying conservatively July 30th, which is the anniversary of the launch of ETH1, as far as I remember. Could well be before that, and then phase 1 on July 30th. I think phase 1 is more likely. Reason because phase 0 is just the beacon chain, really.
Right.
Without any sharding. If you want to know what the beacon chain is, if you can imagine, you have the blockchain and you have shards of information that, basically doesn't carry the whole information of the blockchain. The beacon chain is what's called the state mediation and synchronization platform. Basically, when a shard wants to update other shards, the beacon advertises the state changes, so they can do that. So the critical components for a beacon are the beacon holding the up-to-date information and the beacon synchronizing incredibly quick. The big logjam before was the latency of the beacon, which I think was 6 seconds, but they've got it down now, way down. So it's much faster, milliseconds. And now the state update and synchronization that the beacon facilitates so that the shards can talk to each other and to the main blockchain. That's what phase 0 is. So those testnets are running that. And they have to run fault-free for 3 months on all 3 testnets with a large 6-figure number of validators, and we're more than halfway there. So I'm very positive for that happening. Phase 1 is basic sharding.
Yep.
Then phase 2, which we'll probably see next week, is when all this testnet loveliness that's completely tested and robust and working, then it's transitioned onto the EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine, with limited functionality, not complete functionality. There's cross-contract calls, from different sharded networks, but it's asynchronous. It's not completely synchronized. Then phase 3 is the light client state. But phase 0 and phase 1 is what should concern us for this year, because that's what's going to build the price.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what's going to give people the means to think. Once the basic building blocks of the beacon chain and sharding are in place, projects will start thinking of building on ETH 2.0 as opposed to 1. You'll start, towards the end of the year, Q3, Q4, we will start seeing projects not launching, but acquiring seed capital, acquiring teams, building out the basic building blocks of their projects for launch in 2021. And then we will see an awful lot more investment in this platform. But the foundation is extremely close now, which is probably accounting for a lot of people who are watching it, accounting for a lot of the price build.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then the other interesting thing was, even on Ethereum 1.0, there was another article that was mentioning about the total amount of transactional value that's been traded on the Ethereum network. So you can trade Ethereum. I can trade you 1 Ethereum. It's however much it's worth now, 160. But I can also trade you stable coins. And so as it turns out, in the last 6 months or so, or 12 months.
People don't realize that stable coins are built on Ethereum for the most part.
More money than Ethereum is being traded on Ethereum.
Yeah. Because essentially, there are ERC20 tokens built on Ethereum that are being traded. Just because they're not called Ethereum doesn't mean they're not, part of the EVM. They are. So you can quite legitimately lump all those transactions for stable coins And for payments as well, you have payment protocols that are built on Ethereum, like OMG, lots of other things.
BitPay is another one.
Yeah, yeah, and that counts as Ethereum volume. So stablecoins are outstripping Ethereum itself in terms of volume value traded. And if you take it as a whole, Ethereum does an awful lot more payments than Lightning does.
Yep.
And everybody goes on about Lightning Network. Lightning Network is great. Lightning Network has huge potential.
Meanwhile, Ethereum is just realizing the potential.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's being major league upgraded. So people just not seeing the wood for the trees, really.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I noticed last year as we slowly started. Because even I myself, I noticed when I interact with Ethereum, I started using stablecoins a lot more now, and I have my USDT, my USDC, my Tether, my True USD, whatever. And it just got me thinking, like, isn't there this huge ecosystem that's starting to build on Ethereum around all of these different stablecoins? And if I want to send money, now this was one of the original cases that people said for Bitcoin. Oh, you can send Bitcoin; it's permissionless. You can send however much money to someone in whatever country borderlessly. The problem with that is Bitcoin's price fluctuates. Guess what? Stablecoins don't fluctuate.
They're pegged. Yeah.
And none of them are on Bitcoin. They're all on Ethereum.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Something that's very much disregarded, which I always find odd, really. If they weren't pegged, if Lightning was so much better and your holding value is so much better, then why is it when the bear started, everybody parked in stablecoins when they sold the top? Yeah, those who did.
Right.
They parked some in Bitcoin, obviously, as a certain proportion of reserves of the portfolio, but an awful lot more for retaining the fiat value of what they sold at the top, potentially for when it hits the bottom. They parked in stablecoins because stablecoins are pegged. I mean, you get the odd, slight variation in Tether for all its controversy, but for the most part, it's pegged. You keep your fiat value. And that fiat value essentially is held on the Ethereum blockchain. It's held on the EVM. Most people disregard it. It's like there's some kind of mental roadblock or split. You've got Bitcoin, you've got Ethereum, and you've got stablecoins. No, they're part of the Ethereum network.
It's all that narrative too. And here's the thing for people who are listening. You have Ethereum stablecoins now. This is an option that people can use in order to do remittances, transfer value, so on and so forth. What are these stablecoins competing with? Well, they're competing with PayPal. Okay, well, with PayPal, I have to pay huge percentage fees. I have to ask 20%. PayPal. Who else?
Is it 20%?
Some crazy amount. For businesses, it's a huge amount. For personal, it can be like a gift. But even then, how many you're going to gift all your employees every month? Come on. So eventually, PayPal will just catch on to that. So PayPal, it's not permissionless. Who else do we have? We have Venmo. Okay, Venmo is the same problem. It's not permissionless. So you have to do all this KYC and all of this. Stripe, same thing.
All that crap. Yeah.
Exactly. And so the best solution right now is really Ethereum. You use an Ethereum stablecoin. You don't have to ask anyone to use it. You can purchase it however you want. You can even collateralize DAI through the deposit, what is it called? The CFD. And you don't even need to go on to any exchange at all. If you don't want to get KYC'd or anything, you can do it that way. You can pay someone in their DAI. Yeah. And so there's so many different ways now of doing things on Ethereum, where let's say USDC suddenly, like, I don't know, they close for whatever reason. Okay, that's fine. I'll use my USDT, or I'll use my True USD, or I'll use my whatever else. So there's or my DAI. So there's so many different stablecoins that are coming out now.
Or if you only have one, you can just go on an exchange that holds more than one, and then just transfer via Ethereum from one stablecoin to another and then use it.
Exactly. And it is a much more stable, if you have this huge basket of stablecoins, like you're really sitting pretty there. Like you're not worried at all about any existential threat to your cash. You're doing okay. And so I think this is one of the things that people aren't noticing is that Ethereum is starting to compete with PayPal. And once we get Ethereum 2.0 and the sharding and the speed updates, like right now I can send you $100 in about maybe 30 seconds or so. Once we get sharding, it'll be so much better than that. And so it'll be almost instantaneous. And so it's like that, it really is like the last unlocking piece of the puzzle here, that once we get the speed that we're looking for, it's just going to be far and above a better system than any other incumbent payment transfer system at all, like
All we need
in the
now
world.
is the UI, basically a nice, easy phone-based UI
Yeah.
DApp where normies can transfer value via stable coins and then just get paid out.
Mm-hmm.
But that will probably happen anyway, I think.
Yeah, it'll happen eventually. That's one of those things that
Yeah.
Jack, who works at Zap for Lightning, that's one of the things Lightning Network actually does have. They have a nice UI. You can send money
Mm.
through Eclair and things like that. But the building the UI on top is a lot easier than building the infrastructure, which is harder to do on
Exactly.
Lightning as opposed to Ethereum, which is just so much easier and
Well,
it's already there.
stable coins have the backing now, basically, to actually make that happen, and it will happen with time. There's too much interest for it not to.
Yeah, and we
And
already have
as
so many. We have so
found
many crypto
Ethereum,
wallets.
yeah,
Yeah, we have Bread Wallet right now. We have the Crypto.com wallet. We have the Coinbase wallet. We have all these different wallets now. It'll be so easy for any of them to implement a stablecoin and for you to just buy them and start sending them to people instantly.
sorry, I hate Coinbase. I can't stand Coinbase.
Same.
It's all the KYC, anal retentiveness. I want to touch anything to do with Coinbase.
Same, but it's okay.
I use quite a few. I've got Jax, I've got Mew, I've got access through my hardware wallet key. I've got Wasabi wallet, which I'm going to start trying soon, which most exchanges actually hate because of its coin mixing facility and its privacy, and which is the reason why most people should love it.
Samurai wallet.
Try depositing from Binance to a Wasabi wallet. They won't let you. They hate Wasabi.
Really?
Yeah, they hate it. They've blocked people. It was in the news about a month ago. People were basically taking profit, depositing into Bitcoin, then trying to deposit their Bitcoin from their Binance wallet into Wasabi. And Binance was, no, we don't like it because it has privacy and it mixes the coins. So, chain analysis can't get the rubber gloves on and stick a torch up your backside for the tax authorities or the government.
Oh, that's a shame.
Which is why you should love it. Wasabi is great.
That's a shame.
Little tip: if you want to go with Wasabi and get your privacy, take your exchange wallets, deposit it to something like Jax, and then go from Jax to Wasabi, and you should be good to go privacy-wise. You just have to use 3 wallets instead of 2. It's a stupid approach by the exchanges and Binance because they're not going to stop people using privacy platforms.
Exactly. All they're doing is making me spend.
The whole game is whack-a-mole. You think they'd know better if they're in crypto, but they don't.
Yeah. Funny.
But the stable coins payment platforms also ramp up the size and value of the Ethereum environment. Those are going to grow, especially outside the West. What else is there? Then there's functional use case projects, which, as I said earlier, we'll be looking at once the foundational blocks of phase 0 and phase 1 are in place. You will see more of these. They'll be getting seed capital, and then 2021 they'll be looking for, private sales, etc. And we will see more of a boom. Alts are picking up quite well.
Yeah, definitely. Alts are looking really good.
Definitely happening.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot to come. People don't look at the tech, really. And Ethereum 2 has been taking a long while, but it's definitely on the way now. And I think we'll see phase 0, phase 1 this year for sure. Phase 2, maybe at the end of the year. Q4 or definitely Q1, I think 2021. And then things will start to really ramp up. It will be more secure, more scalable, faster, larger, more options. One thing I would like to see, but I'm not sure whether it will happen, is because ERC20 is quite long in the tooth now. And you've got 2 issues really with 20. One of which are, if you send tokens to a contract, and the contracts, you can have lost tokens basically if it's not, if it's not like for like deposit. ERC 223 fixes that, and it's also much cheaper on gas. But you'd have to get, as somebody I know pointed out to me when I was singing, dancing about ERC 223 and ETH2, is that you'd have to get the exchanges to update their protocols to actually do it. Which is dodgy, really. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see 20 replaced by 223, so that people don't lose their stuff anymore, and have lower gas costs. But whether it happens or not, I know there's internal.
It might be doable
to do it,
on the developer side. So I've
Yeah.
seen this done with what was it? I think it was True USD. They used to
Very
have an
difficult.
old one. Yeah, and then they had a new True USD contract with new tokens. And so how they did it is every time anyone on the network sent a version of the old TUSD token, it went through their smart contract, and then they burned it, and then they gave you the new version.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
There are
it may
ways
be
of doing.
possible depending on how it's all up to the devs if they set it up properly the first time. Because I believe most of the this happened around the time of I think late 2017 was when everyone, because it used to be that I could send you an ERC20 directly to your wallet. That's no longer
Mm.
the case actually. If I want to send you an ERC20, if you check the transaction log, it's actually going through a various set of smart contracts, usually one or two, before it finally reaches your side. And so that was put in place so that developers have these gateways that they can actually do this kind of thing with. So with regards to ERC 223, I can definitely see the case where all of the developers start phasing these out. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's also up to them still. They have to do it.
Mm. I think it's not that big a change in terms of the spec from 20. I think the resource could be put into it quite easily. It could be built into ETH2. But the question is, do you get the exchanges have a say now, and they have to implement it on their side. And although I think marketing wise it will play very well for them, no more lost tokens, lower gas prices, whether they can actually be able to get their finger out and actually allow it is another question. All it would take is one or two to say, no, we can't be bothered, and it would be dead, which is sad. But then again, these people are not, known for vision, I don't think. It's all about bottom line with them.
Yeah. And speaking of bottom lines, yeah, the new ERCs also reduce the gas. What I read, it
Yes, they
was
do.
up to 2 times.
Yeah,
So
could be more.
yeah, that's really nice. 50% less gas. I mean, costs already on Ethereum are very, very low. Just
Yeah.
if you want to pay 5 cents for a TX, you can, or even a penny, even less. But now it's going to be even cheaper.
Yeah. But the thing is, it would also up the speed, because you could, instead of going for a slow confirmation option to pay less gas on ERC20, you could go for a standard on ERC223, and you wouldn't have to go for the slow option. You see what I mean? Because of the nature of the protocol. If it was built into ETH 2.0, you'd still get the speed, but you'd have a lot less gas. So you'd have the best of both worlds. Plus, you wouldn't have the token ambiguity of losing things, as it were, which is not good.
Yep. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much my general thesis for Ethereum and all the reasons I am very interested in holding it and am holding it. And it's my second largest position. My first being Chainlink, obviously Chainlink fanboy, but yeah, I'm just super bullish on Ethereum. I think it's one of the few coins really where it's a platform and it's existed on its own for so long as a platform, and it's not done the thing like Binance where you have this exchange behind it, or Bitcoin where it was the first. Ethereum really has stood on its own merit for such a long time, and now it's going to really level up in that arena, in that aspect. And I think what may end up happening as well is all of the investors who are in different competing coins, we're talking EOS, we're talking Cardano, we're talking Zilliqa, we're talking Cosmos, all of these other guys, they're going to lose so much of their market share as Ethereum proves once again that it's the leader in the field, that it's really the incumbent, that it's the number one. And so I see money from those investors also going to the Ethereum ecosystem and building things there and investing in the token. And that obviously is good portents for positive price action.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be significant bleed from the clones, the so-called ETH killers. God, that was a joke.
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
What was? Oh yeah, I just dug something out. Basically, if you use the command transfer, the transfer function within Solidity of the ERC20 token, if the contract that you're depositing to on an ERC20 is not designed to receive incomings, working with Ether itself, then it will reject it, and your tokens will be lost. I'll give you an example. Quantum, somebody lost over 1 million EOS, somebody lost over 1 million. Somebody lost 249,000 in ETH. Storage, 217,000. ERC223, sorry, that doesn't happen. Yeah, the tokens would not be lost if you deposited them to a contract via the transfer function. Yeah, that's a pretty serious value add,
For sure.
as well as the gas discount.
It also just makes the whole thing more secured, which is what companies care about. So they're going to be
Yeah,
more willing
exactly.
to build on this thing.
Yeah. I think it's a good thing for the exchanges. I think it's a good thing for the users. And the launch of ETH2 also means that it's an ideal time to do it. Even since it's been parked since 2017, it's an ideal time to do it is now, when everything's being changed, when everything's going to transition, in phase 3 and phase 4. It's a good time to do it. Whether it happens or not is another question. But that depends on developer sentiment, and it depends on the exchanges as well, adopting the standard. I think the foundation should push hard for this. The foundation has a lot more clout with the exchanges than it gives itself credit for, I think. It really does, because the exchanges are not going to want to lock out essential functionality of the form if they push for it.
Right.
Well, let's see. I hope it does.
Yeah. And with that is pretty much the end of the episode. We went over, I think, everything we wanted to go over. If we forgot something, we'll mention it some other time. But yeah, Ethereum outlook, bullish. So
Very.
Yeah, there's your call. And yeah, I'm just a buy and holder. I don't know when I'm planning on selling. Certainly not now. Certainly not in the next 6 months. We'll see though.
Well, it's going to be hold it as well, and as well as use it for investments of all the nice projects that are coming down the line. Either way, you make by holding it and you make by investing.
Yep,
because absolutely. I think the next couple of projects with the additional complexity of ETH2, it's going to be a little bit harder for the dogshit builders and the scammers to actually convince people this time round. Yeah. It's going to be a lot more difficult. Because people who have been burned before are going to be hopefully, more for them if they're not, but hopefully going to be a little bit more sophisticated tech-wise when they read these white papers and determine whether it's dog poo or whether it works and it's good.
Yep. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Read the white paper. That's the #1 tech tip from Grand Negus. And
if not, find somebody who actually knows what they're doing.
Yep.
No, that doesn't mean I'm taking requests. I'm not. Unless you pay me, of course.
Right.
Because it's not an easy thing to do. It takes a while.
Yeah. So that'll be it for this week, guys. Next week, I don't know. We'll come up with something that we'll talk about next week. I'm sure it'll be very exciting. So, yeah, that's it. If you have anything you want us to talk about, leave a comment down below, like the video, do all that fun stuff. And we will see you guys next time. Peace.